What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 20-Minute Wrestling Podcast, brought to you by thescenesnobs.com. I, of course, am Mick Manhattan, the scene snob himself, with you always on this wrestling journey. And it's another week, another new week filled with lots of wrestling, especially because the biggest show of the year happened last night and the night before. But we'll get into all that. Thank you for coming back. We're going to go over the Wrestlemania results. There's just some opinions that I have about some things I want to kind of talk about. Unfortunately, things with wrestling have sort of slowed down a bit due to the virus that shall not be named. And it is kind of a tough one right now. This past week's shows are all go-home shows. SmackDown was actually probably the best show this week, honestly. But not to dwell on that. Nothing against AEW. It's not their fault. It's not even WWE's fault. I will tell you I was a little apprehensive about Vince McMahon still wanting to throw on WrestleMania 36, even with everything going on, because it's supposed to be spectacle, and you were getting what seemed to be a very lonely event coming up, just based on previous shows, because we're not allowed to have fans in, which is understandable, and I'm all for protection and everything else against what's going on with the virus. But so I kind of want to go over the each match, kind of what happened, and then I have some opinions, and I will kind of cover that. So bear with me, everybody. So we had 2-night event for WrestleMania. This is a first. We of course did not get the Hall of Fame, which will be coming, I think, in SummerSlam. They announced it. Will be showing up around then. And then we also did not get a takeover event, which kind of makes sense. I mean, might as well save it. Why have it? Why have it when you're trying to do WrestleMania? And also because it takes the women's title out, because Rhea Ripley was always gonna wrestle Charlotte at WrestleMania. So why take one of your main titles out of play if you were going to do a takeover? But okay, to kick the show off on the first night, we had Cesaro versus Drew Gulak. Cesaro defeating Gulak with a pinfall. It was a cool mid-card match, kickoff show type match. Then we open the show. We have the Women's Tag Team Championship, the Kabuki Warriors versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. That showed Bliss and Cross defeat the Kabuki Warriors. Lots of speculation as to why this is. And a lot of it has to do with Kairi Sane maybe leaving. Her contract is up soon, and there has been rumor that she might be taking off to go back to Japan. It could be AEW. Nobody knows at this point, but I believe she's married to a wrestler in New Japan, so that might be a bigger factor. But and it makes sense. Now, with that being said, this match is hard to care about. Yes, they've been building to it, but for so long, the women's tag team titles, I mean, there was a point where people didn't even know who had the women's tag team titles. And, then it comes out, and then you have the Asuka going against Becky for so long, and then you had 3 months to build on this match, and they really only did it in 3 weeks. So it was a fine match, but it wasn't built to anything. Then we had the mid-card match to end all mid-card matches. Not really. King Corbin versus Elias. Again, this is all right, mid-card match. And you need mid-card. You have to have the jobbers. You have to have jabronis there. So, and that's what these guys are. Elias defeated Corbin. Of course, you're always going to put the babyface over. If you can. Raw Women's Championship. Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. This was such a short match. It was a little disturbing to see that you were trying to build this up for so long, and then you have such a short match where Becky takes it. It just felt like Shayna Baszler had all of this momentum. Now, I think Becky should have always won it. I think Becky should still retain and remain. She is the man. She is the face of the company right now. I'd like her to stop pushing the Stone Cold stuff so much, like driving the truck in and I'm the badass, I'm the man. because when she wasn't pushing it and she was just owning the role, I think she was a lot better. But I don't think that's her pushing it. I think that's them pushing it. And it kind of takes away the mystique of what made Stone Cold, or what made The Rock. Like, it was their natural born charisma and their willingness to take over, even if the bosses didn't want them to, that made them as popular as they were. So, I'm glad Becky won. And it wasn't a terrible match by any means, but I really think that they took something away from Shayna Baszler in this one. Then you had the Intercontinental Championship match, which Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan, which was thrown together so that way Braun could be fighting for the Universal belt. So it was what it was. The wrong guy won. Sami Zayn beat Daniel Bryan. I'd rather see Daniel Bryan as our Intercontinental Champion. Zayn just sucks. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that he could never be good, but the way they're booking him, he just sucks. SmackDown Tag Team Championship. And this bugged me because I understand The Miz was sick. And they were the champions. I would almost wish they would drop the match. It wasn't a bad match. It wasn't a terrible match, but it wasn't. It was good, and it ended really well. And John Morrison put on a show. It's boring to see the Usos and the New Day over and over and over again. I get it. It's just the tag teams are treated so terribly in the way they're booked. They do not know how to build a good tag team together. The New Day is over, but it should be way over, as like on the level of the Young Bucks, with how long they've been together. And it just, I don't know. There's so much I can go into. I can do a whole episode just breaking down tag teams in the WWE and how badly they are booked. So sorry about that. 24/7 Championship, which nobody cares about. Mojo Rawley defeats R-Truth and Gronkowski to win the title. So Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. Finally, we get a good match. But it did not start off good. The first match, I should say, was all right. I mean, they're both good technicians, so you got a pretty good match. And then when they made it a disqualification match and he came back out, that's when it got really good. Because you just saw like the viciousness and the hate towards each other. I will give it to Kevin Owens and even Seth Rollins to an extent, but more so Kevin Owens, because Owens has always been good at just talking crap during the match. He's always been good for that, and I think that's always builds up his character really well. So I thought they did a good job with that second match especially. But Owens beat Rollins both times. Rollins in the first match was intentionally disqualified, and then when they went to no DQ, Owens beat him flat out with a pinfall, which was awesome, and he took the jump from the Wrestlemania sign, which was really cool. If you haven't seen it, go check that out. Then you had the Universal Championship match, Goldberg versus Braun Strowman, which I was not in any way, shape, or form excited for. And, of course, Braun won because they were not going to keep it on Goldberg. Like, you built up the spear versus spear. It was stupid the way they started it with Roman coming out saying, "I'm next," because that's not how this should work. That's why I like what AEW is doing with keeping their records and the right person who's in line to do the first contender, who is the first contender for the belt, gets the chance. You can't just walk out and say, "I'm doing it, I want it." It plays like a real sport that way, but I guess people, they don't want to make stories at WWE. Why would they want to keep track of records? So you had a terrible match between them. Braun, here's the thing, and I'm going to get into this gripe before. Now, I'll just save it for after, because there are a couple matches I really want to talk about, and it's more the philosophy of things. Then you get The Undertaker versus AJ Styles. Great match. The Boneyard match takes place in a cemetery somewhere in Florida. That's evident by the plant life in it. It was truly amazing. It was shot cinematically like a horror movie, and in such a beautiful way. And you have American Badass, Undertaker showing up on his motorcycle. But before then, you have the hearse show up. And then you have like the druid types and hooded druids come out and pull out of a hearse the coffin, and out pops AJ. And it's like, what do you expect? Like, are you expecting the dead man to pop out? And of course, in some way, you kind of were. But then you have American Badass show up, and he had completely decimated all of them. And now they had the magic play in it, where Taker showed up behind AJ, or the pyrotechnics, things like that. But it all added to the level, and it was beautiful. If you have not watched it, go and watch this match. It is a fantastic match. AJ, who is not just terrific technically in the ring, not just a great promo guy. He can play heel. He can play babyface. He's perfect in every way as a wrestler. He's been doing this so long. Here's a guy who doesn't even have to go to the performance center when he came in, because he's already a bona fide, been doing this for so long star. He knows how to put people over. He made The Undertaker, who has looked weak for years now, justifiably so. The man's got a body of a 75-year-old for all he's done for us for entertainment value. And he fought AJ in this match that was cinematically beautifully cut together, edited so well, shot so well. And then AJ made him look great. AJ made him, you could keep going with The Undertaker for a while with the way AJ made him look. And kudos to AJ Styles for that, because that was just fantastic. And it ended the first night with this match, and it couldn't have been a better choice. It was fantastic throughout, and truly an A+ match. So if you haven't seen it, in my opinion, it's the best match of the weekend. It's one of the best matches of the year, and it's only April. But who knows how long that will even last, because March lasted forever. So I was so excited with all of it, and they just did it so perfectly. So then you get to night 2, kickoff show, Liv Morgan versus Natalya. Liv Morgan beat Natalya via pinfall, which made no sense in my opinion. It's not a very good match at all, and it could have been, because Natalya is very good for putting people over and doing that too. NXT Women's Championship, Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte to start it off. It was a good 20-minute match. I mean, these two are very good. They put on a great match, but I think the wrong person won, in my opinion. I'm sorry. Flair defeated Ripley. I believe you could have gotten more out of this for a while on NXT and really built it up. But I think you took it off Ripley too soon. That's just my opinion. Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. Of course, not the match we were expecting. We thought it would be Rusev, but apparently due to contract negotiations, Rusev has pretty much been left off TV lately, which is just a damn shame, especially considering you've been making him look like a fool for so long. And then, of course, Aleister Black defeated Lashley via pinfall. It wasn't a bad match, but it just wasn't. It wasn't exciting. There's nothing built up to it. Now, in one of the best built-up storylines of this year, Otis versus Dolph Ziggler, to find out that Sonya Deville and Dolph Ziggler were setting up the entire time Otis to fail with Mandy Rose, and you found out on SmackDown this week that was the case. Otis is pissed. It's a one-on-one match. They're going at it. Sonya Deville's in Dolph Ziggler's corner. It's hardcore, and Otis goes after him, and then he wins via Rose running out when Sonya Deville was going to attack Otis. He wins through Mandy Rose running out, slapping down Sonya Deville, and low blowing Ziggler, and then Otis hit the caterpillar for the 3 count. He celebrated with Mandy Rose afterwards, and he got the kiss. So, true love story ending. Then you have the last man standing match. This is a vicious match. Let me tell you, the Performing Arts Center is a death trap. OSHA violations everywhere. So you have Edge versus Randy Orton. Starts out perfectly. You have Edge come out. Then you have Randy Orton's music hit. He puts down the camera, comes in. He's dressed like a cameraman. RKO's Edge to start off the match. They take it all around the the Performance Center there. End on one of the trucks, on top of one of the trucks. 36 minutes later. It was too long of a match. I enjoyed it, and then I got bored by it, and then they got to the top of the truck, and I was enjoying it, and then Randy Orton got down, he got the two chairs, he came in, everything just took too long, and I really liked this match, but you could have cut out like 15 or 20 minutes of it. It was too long, and I just didn't enjoy it all that much, to tell you the truth. Then the Raw Tag Team Championships, Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Austin Theory. I suppose you needed a match. I like that Selena Vega's kind of got her stable now. You know, she's got this whole little force to be reckoned with, because Andrade was either out because of this or that or the other thing. So they're keeping her busy, and she's teaming up. It wasn't a great match, but you do get Bianca Belair came out in the end, and because they were attacking Montez Ford after they lost, because the Street Profits won, of course. I should have mentioned that. So they're attacking him. Belair runs out, beats crap out of Zelina and the rest, and protects him, and then they celebrate. Street Profits celebrate. SmackDown Women's Championship. It was a 5-way match. Bayley versus Sasha Banks versus Lacey Evans versus Tamina versus Naomi. I'm just going to say Bayley defeated all of them. You know, with well, she won by defeating Evans with a pinfall to retain. Whatever. It was a boring match. It was a boring setup. I just don't care. I don't like Bayley as a champion. She doesn't work. And she's just too whiny, in my opinion. Then you get probably the second best match of the weekend, in my opinion, where John Cena very much buries himself in such a weird cinematic way. It's another one that's shot just like a horror movie, and it's supposedly supposed to take place in Bray Wyatt's head. You know, it was the Firefly Funhouse match, John Cena versus The Fiend Bray Wyatt. The whole thing is pretty much a setup of John Cena having to go through, and John Cena, I will say, played it off beautifully, and he did it right. He went through, he was the prototype, he was dressed as the prototype, playing that off, reenacted that. Dr. Thugonomics, 6 years ago, the match versus Bray Wyatt, he was reenacting Hogan's entrance. He reenacted the Mega Powers, you know, just how they played that off, like, really well done. You could tell it was really well acted. It was a lot of fun. It was not the best match. I still give that to the Boneyard, but it was really well put together, and it was a beautiful story. I just feel like it might be wasted, and I'm going to get into that in just a sec. I know I'm running a little bit over time, but you know, some things I do want to talk about. But I want to talk about the last match, which was the WWE Championship, Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre. McIntyre won. I was glad McIntyre won. I wanted McIntyre to win ever since he won Royal Rumble. I can't stand Brock Lesnar as a champion. I think he would be fun. All right, let me just get into it. Just to say about this match, Drew McIntyre deserved to win in front of 100,000 people. 80 to 100,000, I should say. Because he's been doing it for so long, and his first championship, he deserved a bigger thing. I felt like this match should have been put off until they could do it right. But he is the champion. He is he's WWE champion. Well deserved. I think he's fantastic. All right, here's going to be my gripes. I've talked about this somewhat before, and there's a little bit of contradictory in it, and I'm going to tell you why. The Goldberg match and the Lesnar match are matches that need to stop happening. Vince really needs to pull it together, and he needs to start learning how to build up his talent again instead of just completely decimating them as soon as they get a little bit of a push. Paul Heyman's been doing pretty good with it, but Vince, you're destroying wrestling. I'm sorry, You're destroying the WWE. Get out of your own way. Let the company build. And the reason I say that is you've done great things. I respect you for a lot of it. But it's when you are painted into a corner. Well, it's when your guys who you trust were painted in a corner that make it happen. And yes, it's at your behest, but this is ridiculous. Brock needs to go. Or not go. He doesn't need to go because he does show up enough. But the amount that he shows up, he should just be in veteran or legends matches at this point. If you want to book some money from him, fine. But, it can be that without, let him come out, destroy for 10 minutes. Not even. It doesn't even seem like he can make 10 minutes anymore. And same with Goldberg. Stop putting belts on them. Nobody wants to see these old champions anymore. You have a bunch of new young guys who are just getting older, waiting for their shot with you, and they're not even making it. Now, I understand things got thrown for a loop. Braun had to step in, which was great. Braun will be a fine Universal Champion, and you're going to make him lose it to Roman anyway. But I'm excited for that match. I want to see that match. That match will go on for more than 8 minutes. Now, when it comes to the Brock Lesnar, thankfully he finally dropped the belt. Thankfully he won't be the champion. Drew McIntyre will be a good representation of the company and should be the WWE champion. Let him be for a while. Just let him reign for a while and let him free for a while because he's great on promos. Braun, if he loses to Roman Reigns at the very next one, fine. If that's the way it needs to be. Because even Roman can be a good champion. But then give Roman good storylines with it. Give Drew good storylines with it. Start giving Becky good storylines with it. Get the veterans out of the belt contendership. That's my biggest gripe, is get them out of the belt contendership. That's all I want. They can be in there. I'm not saying veterans don't have a place, and here's why. How many times has The Undertaker won the belt? Maybe 3 or 4? And, at times he was a champion. But he always has epic matches. Last few years aside, I would even say like the last year or two, maybe. But until this night, when you actually made it work and you put him with AJ, who can make him look good. But yeah, if he wants to do one a year, if he wants to retire, The Undertaker can do whatever he wants. The Undertaker has done more for this sport than anybody else. And he deserves to do whatever he wants to do. If he wants to retire, let the man retire. If he wants to wrestle one match a year, let him wrestle one match a year. But you do it right. It's The Undertaker showing up at WrestleMania. It's The Undertaker showing up and doing his thing, and it's fun and it's wild, and something. And you should only do matches like this Boneyard match, where you shoot him that make him look really good. I think that's his wheelhouse now, and that would be perfect. A couple takeaways from this are John Cena coming back. John Cena, you had a great deal with him on Sunday. He showed up. He set it up with Bray Wyatt. I like the setup. I like the fact that he, buried Bray Wyatt, and John Cena doesn't feel that way, but that's why Bray Wyatt's upset. Like, I thought that was really good. That's a good storyline. And it cultivated well. I don't care what people are saying. Like, I really thought that was a good way to go about this match, considering that's what you were painted into. But when you have John Cena going out and burying himself basically and going through all this and losing, and you're never going to see him for 6 months, it's kind of a wasted opportunity. I think personally, like, you really did something here, and you're not going to see him, or you're not going to see him reflect on this. Remains to be seen, I should say. Maybe he'll show up on SmackDown, but I don't think so. I think he's gone for a little while. So, stop wasting the opportunities with the legends and the veterans. Like, these are the types of matches you should be having with them, not belt matches. Get Brock off the belt. Stop putting a championship on him. He's not a great champion. He can't put on a match for more than 3 or 4 minutes, it seems, at this point. And I'm even bringing that down from 8, but it's true. Goldberg cannot stay in the ring for more than 5 minutes. He cannot. He couldn't do it for more than 10 minutes back in the day in his prime. Now he can't do it for more than 5. And he's still struggling after. give the man a rest. If he wants to come back, let him wrestle Legends matches or things like that. Let him wrestle Sting, things like that. Like, I think that would be awesome. But it is what it is. They're going to keep booking this way. I wish they wouldn't. A few takeaways are the only two really true great matches were the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse match. I'm glad Drew won the belt. I'm glad Becky retained. I could care less about any other belt or where it is right now because that's how it's booked. I wish I did care, but I don't. And I would keep the 2-night format. I think it was better. It worked perfectly with Wrestle Kingdom. It needs to be reworked. You need to do storylines. You need to make it better, but you can, and that's the point. And now with NXT being like a main show, you can start adding them to the mix. So that's my takeaway for WrestleMania 36. Those are my thoughts. Hopefully you enjoyed them. I'll be back next week with another 20-minute wrestling podcast. Thanks for joining in. I am the Scene Snob, Mick Manhattan. I enjoy always talking to you guys, and I always love hearing from you guys too. So make sure you follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the Scene Snob. Make sure you go over to the YouTube channel. If you're watching the video, hit the like and subscribe button, or any of the podcast platforms that you're watching this on. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons and hit the notifications. We have new stuff every day. TheSceneSnobs.com. That's where all our shows are. Links to everything. Look forward to hearing from you guys. Take care, and God bless.